And good afternoon, at least here in Ohio, everyone. I am Maria Daniels with Successfully Chaotic, and today I have a special guest. I've actually heard a lot about her. She doesn't know it, or maybe she does know it. I don't know. You do have some psychic abilities, so you probably know that you've been talked about a little bit behind the scenes. Jen has talked nothing but amazing things about you, and Jen and I work together on my marketing consulting company side of things. And I love Jen to death. And she's done nothing but rave about you. And she'll screenshot your pictures and send it. I just love her. She's just so fresh. She always says fresh. She's just so fresh. And I'm like, yes, she is. So I have not got to meet you until just now, but I was already a big fan. So for those of you that are listening right now, and maybe you're listening in the future on the podcast, let people know who you are and kind of a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Barbra May. I'm a podcast host, spiritual teacher, coach, and you name it. Just so many things. Like if you need help, just reach out and I'll tell you what you need and I'll help you.
So you're like a lot of entrepreneurs, you're wearing all the hats. So.
Yeah. So that's what I help people to build a podcast, just like literally everything. But anyway, so the main thing what I do, just to be more specific, is that I help people to activate their soul. Simple as that. And I do that through spirituality. I do that through coaching. I do that with energy. I also read cards and I have my podcast, which is there to make spirituality more fun and more relatable and more accessible to the people, because that is about us coming to ourselves. So oh gosh, too many things.
No, I love that. And I really love talking to people on, well, you mentioned you're a podcaster too. I love talking to people on podcasts because we're all so layered. We are all so layered. As humans, we're so layered. And it's funny, like when you meet somebody, like in a business aspect, quote unquote, it's funny that you're getting only this one layer of them. And, if you see them kind of out in the real world, you get another layer and you're having to just add on layer up on layer. And what I've found in my experience with having a podcast is like, I sort through all these layers, like, and I love that because I love sorting through and figuring out, what people do, what makes them work, like, and more importantly, the why. I'm really big on the why behind, why people do things and why they think the way they do. And, we talk a lot about, the ups and downs because, as much as people want to talk about the ups on everything, there's a lot of downs, there's a lot of low points. And I like the realness of being able to, be able to discuss things with people. Have you found in your podcasting world that that's been your experience?
Well, I think I have found it before the podcasting world. So let me just start with this. I always had the feeling that I can achieve something, but I didn't know how. I always had this feeling that I love people, right? I love the souls and I just love helping out people. And I was always this person who was like, okay, I'll help you with that. I'll advise you on that. But it was all over the place, but it wasn't centered.
Yeah.
And the podcast, I just sent in my recent post, this podcast gave me my voice back. Because so my background is I worked for BBC. I used to be an actress, and I didn't like being judged by people. So I went behind the scenes, and I have taken my voice away because I always used to be very outspoken, and I just stopped talking because I just felt if I'm going to be quiet, I'm not going to be judged, and if I'm not going to be judged, I'm going to be protected. So, like you kind of build that shield.
Yeah.
And also from like bullying, people talking things about you, like, who do you think you are that you can speak up for yourself and all that kind of stuff. However, when I stepped in my power and I stepped in my love heart energy, which is like I started doing what I love and what I always want to do, and that is talking, as you probably figured it out. I have built this shield around me. And I'm so protected, but I do what I love. So to answer your question, I don't know what the question was anymore, but
Well,
I hope I answered it.
No, I mean, I don't know. I guess it was kind of a question, but I know for me, starting into the like okay, let me rewind. Where you said that you were an actress, you felt like you had lost your voice. I mean, I wasn't an actress, but I think a lot of people that I've spoken with, especially women, and I always say especially women, and then I have guys message me, well, I've experienced that too. And I'm not saying anything against the guys. I just end up, speaking with the women a lot more on this level, that there's been many times in their journey that they felt like they lost their voice. And there was something, whatever that was, that plugged in, that gave it back to them. And that was my experience with the podcast. It came into my life at the moment that I didn't realize that I needed it. I didn't realize that it was going to be a tool for me to kind of heal some of my own wounds and to put power back in my voice, to put power back behind, my purpose. And it for me, it became a tool for myself, but also to connect with others on a level that is a lot more, approachable and a lot more, down to earth than the atypical, meeting that you may have or connection that you may have on a business level. Or that was my experience. Because like I said, I do have my foot in the business world with my marketing consulting company. And I have a wellness company. So I deal with people on, the nutritional level. And a lot of times what I get from both of those angles, it's different, but it's the same, because there's this underlying need. And you probably are going to relate when I say this. I've always very much been the helper. I'm just a helper. Like every situation, I always jokingly say that I end up being the mother of every situation. Naturally, I'm the helper, but that comes with a cost, to your own, spirit, to your own, well-being, to your own mental stability, all the things. And so after a while, if we're not conscientious and careful, we can allow that to still our voice. And that was why I was kind of curious if your relationship with podcasting was an outlet for you, or if you had noticed a deeper connection with people. And the only reason I wanted to ask you that specifically is coming from a psychic level, obviously, that your experience with connections are going to be a little bit different than mine.
Yeah. So it's a great question. I have set myself a trap. Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew, what I'm talking about. I knew that I'm able to do it. Okay. I knew I wanted to do it. And I knew that if I wanted to achieve something and I wanted to step out of my comfort zone, I have to do it. So for those who are listening, before we go any further, I just want to say back to the stuff what you said, the knowledge and being a helper, right? So many people, we have all this power, right? We can help, we can advise and all that kind of stuff, okay? I believe that it will be selfish from us to keep it for ourselves, okay? We have it for a reason and we should share it, okay? So that's back to what you said. And what I have done is I have done a to-do list, and on to-do list, I have written things, what I want. So me, Barbara, what I want, for example, new shoes, write a book, find a husband, get a driving license, get a podcast, become a public speaker, whatever, yeah. And I have prioritized those things, and I have decided what thing is the most important one, and how do I get there? But do you know why I want to get there? Because I appreciate myself, because I love myself, and I want to be happy, and I want to achieve something. And if I'm not going to get there, I probably just going to live the second best. So that's the decision I have made. I have made the decision before I turned 30. I'm 33 years old now. But what I mean by that is, as soon as I start doing it, more things start to come into me, because I was happy, because I have finally listened to myself, and if that makes sense, and that's what I did. So, and podcast was one of those things. So, yeah, definitely, I stepped in my power, and I don't care what people think, unless I care. The more popular the podcast is, which
Absolutely.
is fabulous. Do you know what I mean?
and it breaks down that barrier. For me, one of the reasons of getting into it at the very beginning, not realizing again that it was going to be very therapeutic for me, was to break down that barrier between the professional, quote unquote, business owner, the woman in the business world, and who she should be, what she should look like, dress like, talk like, all the things, and allowing that to blend in with who they really are. Because, in that space, I felt like, and I use this quote a lot on this show, is that I felt like I was wearing this mask of perfection. I had to show up perfect every day, all day. And it was exhausting when my personal life was a complete hot mess and I was barely keeping my head above water. And that, back and forth of being expected to show up in such a way, it wore me down. And finally, I broke. I had a complete breakdown, just broke. And when that happened, it was so freeing, honestly. You mentioned you quit caring what people thought. I did. I was like, I don't even care. I couldn't physically care anymore. I couldn't mentally care anymore. And at that moment when I stopped caring, I was able to start just picking up the pieces of what I wanted to care about. And I love that you were talking about your list, podcasting's on the list, and all these things that are on your list. And I think, the biggest thing there is that, we as humans, we deserve to have things that make us happy. We deserve to have a list of things that we are working towards. And the thing is that needs to come from us. It doesn't need to be told, from someone else that this is the list of things that you should accomplish. You need to, do this and do this and do this and do this, because that causes more stress and more issues in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should be listening to yourself and not what other people want you to be. Like there are so many people, and I'm sure there's so many people listening right now, and I do apologize for being so direct, but people are doing jobs which they do not enjoy, and they are doing it because they're following some kind of pattern which they got given, and that's the right way to do it. They can be making a lot of money, and have a successful life, but they are not happy deep inside. And I talked about this all the time, especially to my clients. I say, well, if you start following your heart and you start doing what you really, really want to do, and Maria, because it works for you, it's going to turn into a gold mine. So it's going to bring you more success and more of what you really, really should have. And I guarantee you, it works.
Absolutely. So what is your podcast called? And can you tell everybody just kind of a little about the podcast and the structure and, all the things? We love to hear the stories here.
Yeah. So it's called the Barbra May Show, and it's all about spirituality. So I have, well, not really all about spirituality, because I do have a cryptocurrency there as well.
Oh, wow.
Freedom.
Exactly.
Spirituality. Yeah. Anyway, so there are loads of those kind of topics, but it is there to make a spirituality more accessible and more relatable to the people. So there are interviews with people I don't know if I should drop some names, but people who are teachers, doctors. I have done an episode on sugar addiction, heavy metal detox, angels, energy healing, raising vibration, and just like I'm doing episode on Instagram, how to build your business. So I would say that it is directed to entrepreneurs, but I want people to accept the spirituality not as the word spirituality, but something what is happening simultaneously with everything else. I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. No, it does. And I think for a lot of people, depending on how they were raised and their background and all the things, that term quote unquote spirituality can mean lots of different things. But for me, I consider myself a very spiritual person, and, just kind of on a side note, meditation and Reiki and, all the things that if you would have asked me a couple of decades ago, I would have been like, no, that's strange. It's frou, it's weird, it's out there. But it's funny how when you start to really learn and dig in, you realize that a lot of these preconceived notions that we had about these terms and these terminologies that we've heard over the years aren't what we actually thought they were, and that we're actually a part of it in our everyday lives right now, even though we don't even realize it. And it's funny that you mentioned, energy healings and all these things. And, I love cymatics, just sound healing. And, I play, drum, and we've done drumming circles. I have a 12-year-old that's autistic. And one of the things that we've done with him is using that energy healing from, sound therapies. And, there's so much about the world that ties in with spiritual teachings. And if people just kind of stop, their preconceived notions on everything and really look at what the teachings really are on this, I think there's a lot of people that would be surprised, especially in the business world, because you mentioned you gear towards entrepreneurs. And I like historically, a lot of entrepreneurs that I, mention, have worked with in the past and have mentioned spirituality, you get one or the other kind of like reaction, like spirituality. Oh, they just think they're just seeing like witches out in the woods and, like whatever movies they've seen or, whatever preconceived notion they may have. But in reality, there's the other side of it. It just means, the energies and, nature. And like, there's so many deep meanings that, we actually deal with on a daily basis. That is a part of our everyday life. And I love that you are bridging that gap between, you're kind of doing what I'm doing as far as like bridging the gap between the business world and the real world, because it is, everything is the gray area. I say that all the time, that, we think of things as black and white, but it's not. Like everything literally is in the gray area of life. There's the truth in the middle of, all these people's preconceived notions.
Yeah. Also, one thing which I wanted to just tap into quickly, you said about your son and you use the drums. So the thing with the drums, the reason why they are so effective is because there is this drum called audio drum. I'm sure you know. Mm-hmm. It's a sound of a womb, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why it calms the children. That's why it calms the children down. Also, the other thing is with the entrepreneurs you have mentioned. So there is a huge rise of entrepreneurs, right? Since the Instagram, since all the social media, and there is reason for it. This is happening to us because we are changing, okay? We're changing our energy, we're changing our frequency. This was supposed to happen. So people, I know everybody's talking about step into your power, okay? But people are stepping into their power, and that's what it is. They are following their heart energy and they're following what they want to do. And they suddenly become free, okay? And that's what it is. That's what it is about. And I don't know what was the last thing you have mentioned. But I don't remember what it was. But yeah, it's the spirituality. Sorry. So yeah, the spirituality is for me, I don't know how you feel about it, and I would really like to know how you feel about it. But for me, it's very nurturing. Okay, that's how I see it. It's like that comfort blanket, because I know within myself that it makes me feel good. Okay, it heals me, it makes me happy, and I know what is right and wrong. So that's what I'm going to something what is comforting and nurturing. And just a way of living, isn't it?
It really is. And I think that, people a lot of times, no, you're fine. People a lot of times step into their idea of spirituality subtly. I did. I was raised Southern Baptist, which I think you're in the UK. I don't even know. Are there Baptists in the UK? I don't know. I was raised Southern Baptist. So it is, in the religious arena, it's fairly strict belief systems. And, whether we realize it or not, there's a lot of, trying to think of the right term to use, but
control.
There is a lot of control involved in that. And there's a lot of, you almost have to relearn and figure out what do you actually think for yourself when that's how you were raised. And, I was almost scared to believe a lot of things on the other side, or on, I wouldn't even say the other side, what they considered the other side, which is just the side. It was almost back to where I said black and white. That was how I was taught. And I almost had to unlearn all of those preconceived notions, like I was mentioning before, to realize, okay, well, it's not how I was taught, that again, I was living a lot of the day-to-day spirituality practices in my everyday life without even terming it that. And I didn't even realize it until I really started to open myself up to accepting that maybe not everything that I was taught was factual, maybe not everything that maybe, believing in another way other than the small, amount of things that I had been taught about, spiritual side of things, that there was more to it than just that. Until I kind of started to break all that down, I, didn't feel that I was really, I guess I felt like almost oppressed. Like, and I think that really layered onto me along with a lot of other things that went on in my life. And I really think that was part of it that led up to when I said I had my breakdown. Like, it was everything. It was everything from my entire life at that moment. And that, that saying, the straw that broke the camel's back, was so true. And, when I started kind of trying to pick up my own pieces, it was actually looking at life from a different perspective and looking at all the things that I had known and thought from a different perspective, and being able to embrace that maybe I didn't know a lot of things that honestly I found out that I really didn't know. And I think, just being able to allow myself the freedom to learn, kids are very good at naturally just being inquisitive and learning. And unfortunately, when we get to be an adult, we stop that a lot of times. I don't know how it happens, but during that time, I gave my permission to be childlike again and to be accepting that there's a lot of things about life that I have no idea and I don't understand, and to be willing to absorb that and accept that. And, do you find when you're working with, and I keep coming back to entrepreneurs specifically, but when you're working with entrepreneurs, that a lot of times they have that same, I guess, blockage, I guess would be a good way of putting it, that they have got to a point in their lives where they feel like there's a certain part that they shouldn't even look into, that's not worth looking into. And they've given themselves a certain set of steps and they're unwilling to move outside of that. Is that a common thing that you end up working with them to help them kind of tear down?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has it. And some people, I don't want to say that you cannot help them. Okay. They do understand it, but they are scared to step out of that comfort because they're scared what is going to happen. Most of the people say to me, when I say to them, I said, just follow your heart. They said to me, well, I have a job, I have mortgage to pay, I've got children. And I said, that's absolutely fine. I'm not telling you to leave your job and like sell your Ferrari, that famous thing. Like, I'm not saying that. Definitely do not do that, because that will put you under pressure and not off stress. But what I'm asking you to do is, the day has got 24 hours, okay? We usually, if we're lucky, we have a 12 hours of a daylight, okay? There is a thing, it's called the time management, okay? And if you, again, to-do list, if you manage your time, there is always going to be the time of the day when you can sit down and you can do something what you love, drawing, coloring, or whatever. And it's just to give that to yourself, because you are always giving things out. And back to what you were saying, I just wanted to touch up on the religion thing. Is, how did Jesus heal people? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did he do that? Was he burned at a stake because he was a witch? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, no. And how did Reiki started? Why did we praise Jesus, and why we don't? Well, now people do, but like back in the day, why was Reiki like something? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
energy doesn't work. So how did Jesus do it?
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's why I just wanted to touch up on that. There is this strong control with it, because maybe somebody up there just don't want the people to step into their power, because as soon as they're into their power, they're so powerful and they are unstoppable. So yeah, that's just
no. I love that you pointed that out, because again, I was raised in this. I heard the teachings of Jesus and the stories and all the things my entire life, but until I actually got certified to teach Reiki and all the things in that world, I didn't really put two and two together. And I, one day I thought about that. I was like, it's almost like, and this sounds crazy, but it's almost like the wool was pulled back, as they say, that figure of speech. And it all does tie together. And that's why I say that from my experience to date, I feel like so many things are the gray area, that there's this argument that goes on between religious institutions and the quote unquote spiritual side of things, when really they're talking about the same thing. They're just using different words and, different, sections of, the teachings or whatever, but they're talking about, you know, the same things. And I think, like, in most instances, when you have just two sides of things fighting, if they just stop and talk, they figure out that, oh, okay, well, we're actually, there's no reason to argue because we're talking about the same things. There may be fine little details of, their practices that are different, but, when you dial it back, it's the same teachings, the same spiritual yearnings, the same connections, the same.
Yeah, totally. It's like, you can also say that we are creation of a creator, but we are creator of creation. And if everything is magic, isn't it? It has been in the Bible. it's all happening now. It's all happening nonstop, and we can do it. We can change it, and yeah.
I love that. I know. So you said you have some teachings that are going on through Instagram right now for entrepreneurs. Can you maybe talk a little bit specifically about that for maybe somebody that's listening now that's like, oh, I need that?
So I do loads of stuff. So the first thing, which I found very difficult, is to reach the right audience. Okay, so I started doing loads of stuff on the Insight Timer. So that's the app. I'm sure you're familiar with that. It's like a meditation-free app. And I started teaching over there, and people started contacting me, and that's how I kind of build up my community, whatever you call it. I am launching this program from the January next year. And it's all about their spiritual and psychic development. So I will teach people in 6 weeks. So we kind of have a chat about what they want to know, what they want to learn. And I'm going to be teaching them the tarot. I'm going to teach them how to use the pendulum, crystals, channeling, and just like literally everything what comes with it. But obviously it's specially tailored per person, because somebody doesn't want to do tarot. They just want to do crystals and energy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So so that's what I have. And obviously on Instagram, I just post like things here and there of crystals and just the messages. Well, I think they need to come out, like today, like I'm doing an interview with you, and
I think it's really funny. You mentioned crystals. Well, you mentioned several things, but I was laughing about the crystal specifically because I can remember I was talking with the business associates, and they were actually here in my building, and I had crystals laying there, and they were like, what is that? And I told them, and they were like, I'm surprised that you believe that those do anything. And I was like, well, have you ever heard of a crystal radio?
iPhone.
Yeah, iPhone. And I mean, it's like, again, and I was that person. So I try to be very, patient, because I was that person. I mean, to the point that I can remember, gosh, it's probably been 17 years ago, probably, I got kicked out of a yoga certification class. I was working as a trainer at the time. One of the gyms, I was freelance. One of the gyms that I was working at wanted me to get yoga certified. And at the time I thought, yoga is stupid. Why am I going to get yoga certified? I'm like, I can stretch by myself. I don't need help stretching, whatever. So I went though, because they were paying for the class, and I definitely didn't get, the meditation side of it because, honestly, I don't think I was ready. I'm a firm believer of that now. But at the time, I just thought this was a waste of time. This was really stupid. And then I also went with a friend of mine, and I'm super sarcastic at heart. And we just got to giggling and laughing, and they kicked us out. So that became the joke for years to come. But the hilarious part of that now is you fast forward. I teach yoga now. I'm certified in yoga now. I do yoga literally every day now. And that is a gift to myself, to my own mental stability. It's way more than just, people think stretches, and that's part of it to, help your body with movement, but it's so much more than that. And I think it's really funny, how far our mind comes when we're ready to, take on that knowledge. At that point in time, it's common. Like, to me, it's common sense now, why yoga helps, why meditation helps, why crystals, are able to aid in energy healing. And, I wasn't ready to understand those things then, and that's okay. And so I try to be patient with other people who are not ready to understand them now, and just point out factual things like you mentioned, like the iPhone or a crystal radio, or that Jesus, healed by touch, and all these things that are, have boiled down to our preconceived notions. And I think that's, what our mission is, or at least my mission, it sounds like yours is too, is to break down those preconceived notions and to not do that in a hateful way, because that never teaches, but to do it in such a way that says, I get it. I especially with me, I was that person that was like, that's really frou-frou. It's really weird, and it was because I was not ready to absorb it. And I was uncomfortable with it because it was different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, there is like lack of common sense, which has been taken away. I'm not saying, I'm not putting anybody down who doesn't have the common sense, but it kind of has been taken away. By the way, great, Crystal, for common sense is hematite. Yeah. Just throwing it in.
Yeah. And I do. And I think that I think I challenge people that, if maybe they're listening and they're in a space, maybe like I was back years ago, where it is so uncomfortable because of our teachings. It's uncomfortable to even think of things. Start out with something that, is almost like baby steps to really understanding other things. Maybe go take a yoga class and really concentrate on your breathing. I mean, it can start as simple as something like that, and to stop with the preconceived notions and to just be and experience. And honestly, if you take the moment to just be and just experience, which I know, trust me, I own several businesses and I have 1,000 kids, and the idea of just being for me is hard. That's my life struggle, is to just calm down and just be. But when you do, you are able to really experience so many things in life that it makes it impossible to not believe in the spiritual side of things.
Totally. Agreed.
So, well, and I know a lot of people, we had somebody pop in and said, hey, are you doing psychic readings? And let's go ahead and I mean, we've alluded to it a few times. So you do psychic readings. And that's another thing that some people are like, psychic readings. And either you get probably two sides of that. Please tell me everything about my future. And they expect you to know everything because they've watched too many movies. And then, there's probably the other side of things where they're scared to even approach that. How do you handle somebody that's new on both of those, sides of things, to really explain to them, what being a psychic truly is?
Okay, so truly what I do is I read energy. Okay, so I've been doing it since I was little. I used to play this game. I used to guess when people were born, like what day they were born, because the days represented certain energy. And then later in life, I realized, holy moly, they are related to the planets. And so I had the picture finally, and I didn't have the picture. I had the name for the picture. So what I do is I read energy. So I see pictures, I see colors, I see situations, I see people. I can describe smell and all that kind of stuff, and then I put it into the one picture, and then I'll tell you what I see. And obviously, if there is specific question, I have done a reading for Jen, a mutual friend, and stuff like that. Describe loads of rooms, and so that's simply how it is. I do tarot, so tarot is there to help me out if there is any specific question which I do not have the answer for, which that happens. And then a kind of tarot opens up the door for me, and then I'm able to tell you more. With the other question about telling people what they should not know, like the husband is cheating on you, which I have done recently. I have done a crystal healing on somebody, and I just had this vision of him cheating on her, treating her like not very nice, just very like domineering, and she was like this who cooks and clean and just like very kind, and I was just thinking, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? You can't tell them, because people will go into the defense mode. So what you do, it's just, I would say, is, well, are you happy in a relationship? How's the relationship going, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not my place to do that unless they ask straight. So that's to answer that question. I can sense if people are fertile, or the opposite, if they can't have babies.
So I should have seen you a long time ago, because I have 7 kids. We lost one pregnancy back years ago, so a total of 8 pregnancies. And it's funny, if you would have asked me a long time ago, I would have said I don't want kids. I wouldn't change having them now, of course. But it's funny, like you mentioned fertility. I've always joked around that just super fertile. And I should have came to you and asked that question. So what's the most common question you get asked?
So it's true. I'd say they're at the same level, and it's about the job.
Okay.
Am I on the right path, or should I change job? And then the second one is the love question. How do I manifest the love, or how do I manifest the partner I really, really want? Because obviously, or how do I get it, that partner? So if you want to know, let me know, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, and I think I didn't even think about the job thing, but I was thinking about it's probably the love question. That was my thoughts on what I thought that the most popular question is. Do you find that people come to you as a psychic and they are very led by, movie, TV idea of, psychics? And do you find that is a more of a challenge to kind of get them out of that mindset on this is not TV, this is real life?
Never had anybody like that. And my readings are very different. I say like it's like a spiritual therapy as well, if that makes sense, because it is like a therapy. It comes with advice and stuff like that, but never had anybody like that. I think there are people who come, maybe I attract them. I really don't know. Just get the yeah. I did have somebody, when I started my podcast, I was doing this for review, because obviously tried to get the reviews, and I said for the reviews I will pick one person a month or something, and I'll do the full reading. And I did have this lady, and she was very against it. So she really wanted to have it because she'd done the review, like she submitted it. I have chosen her, and then I'm going to do reading. But she was just like, very like, how do you know? Do you really, like just like that kind of questioning? And that's very difficult, because if you don't want somebody to read your energy, you can block it and they're not going to be able to. I have saw a few things, but it was so difficult, and I'm completely honest with you, it was so difficult for me to read for her. And if that happens, well, I'm not gonna charge any money. I just say, well, I'm so sorry, I can't do it. So yeah, that was one like a bit funny experience.
So do you find that there's some people and maybe it goes back to exactly what you said, maybe it's just a blockage, but there's some people that you can't read at all.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And the only reason I'm saying that is I definitely I'm not a psychic, but we all have just a natural ability to sense situations, just, if we pay attention to it, and not on a psychic level as far as what I'm concerned for me, but what I would just consider, like you mentioned, common sense. The common sense kind of sense a situation. Oh, they seem upset, or that type of thing. But there are certain people I've noticed that I cannot get a sense of where they stand on anything. And honestly, that makes me more uncomfortable than anything. I am comfortable with being able to tell where people are at, even in a business setting. I've used this in business. I use it in business every single day. A meeting in a big room, you can sense the energies of people. And then you have one person that there's nothing. It's that one person that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I think the reason is because they are in this defense mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So whatever you do, it disagree with them. But then it's like the example what I have said before. It's they already are not interested, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like that's absolutely fine. Like if they're not interested to kind of connect with you or something, you just have to respect that. And I think when you actually respect that, they will come back.
Yeah. And it may not be the right time. Like we were talking about earlier, I'm a firm believer that there is a time and a place for everything. And, what I feel and experience now in my life, I would have never even imagined it, previously. And I think it has to be kind of that right time for you to absorb whatever information, download whatever information that you're supposed to have at that moment. And I think that's just part of growing and changing and experiencing this journey of life. And we all kind of get there at different times. I don't think it's like an age thing, because, some people have figured it all out way past the level I'm at, way before, my age. So I think it just depends on your maturity on a spiritual level, and just how much blockages you do have, and what your life experience has been at that point to either allow you to be more open and receptive, or, cause you to be more closed down. And, I've found with myself as an example, and other people I've spoken with, obviously traumas and traumatic situations and things cause you to be more closed down, because you're not receptive, because you've got so much damage on an internal level. Do you end up dealing with, I'm sure you do, because trauma is so, broad. Do you end up dealing with people on a level of trauma that you end up, I always explain, kind of peel it back like layers again, like I said earlier, that you end up having to work with them on an ongoing basis for a while to get to that point where you're peeling back the layers, because when they first come to you, you're getting surface level.
Yeah, and I know, I completely do, and that's relating to the self-love. They just stop loving themselves because they've been told that they're not good enough. The parents don't believe in them. They don't give them the opportunity to have the education. They just put them to like the cheapest school because, I think that is the main thing. And when people are going through relationship traumas, like abusement and all that kind of stuff, I do pick up on that, but they never admit it because they're ashamed. So there is like those things which kind of come with that. And energy healing is fantastic for it. Absolutely fantastic. I only do energy healings in person. I don't do them distant because that's just me. But there are so many people who do them, and it gives you like a boost of, it's like a caffeine. I don't know. And of course, also I find them like a problem solutions as well. Well, you said that you do Reiki, right? So if I have a problem, I always go there with intention to my friends. We do swaps all the time. And I'm just like thinking, okay, well, I need an answer for this. Like, I just need to sort this out, or I need to know the next step. And I lay down. She works with angels. I love angel healings. They're fantastic. Love the energy. And she does the healing. And then I'm just like thinking, all right, done. Yes, got it. Okay.
Ready to go now. Yeah.
See you later. I got it. Like, that's how it works for me. So for those people, it just gives them a power, isn't it? Because it's just a dose of energy, and energy travels, as we were talking previously, with a sound, like sound travels, and it is going where it's supposed to go. But it's a long work, long-term work to do that.
So do you feel that when you work with somebody that you absorb any of the, as far as like wearing you down, or does it take a lot out of you, or, how is your experience on that level?
Okay, so no, it doesn't. It used to, but it doesn't anymore, because the thing is that you are not the healer. Yeah, you're supposed to be the channel for the energy. Okay, so you don't. I'm not saying that you don't have the powers. Okay, but yeah, we understand each other. Yeah. So that's a very important thing. If you put your ego into it, then it will make you tired. Okay. When it comes to the readings, I get a high, and you're not supposed to get a high. Everybody says, you're not supposed to be affecting you. Well, I'm telling you, being honest, I get high. And I get a high because I just get so ecstatic, because I just get so how I do it is like, I'll sit you down, and I don't want to hear anything. I don't want you to say anything. I don't want you to, because then it's easy to read the body language, yeah? And I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you what I'm picking up on. And then when we open up the reading, I just get so happy because I know that I know. And it makes me happy, because if you know that I know and I'm not supposed to know, then I feel that there is a shift. I have done something. I have, like, the box has been ticked. Like, I have served my purpose.
You've connected.
and I connect it, and then I get a high. I just get so excited. I just think, I love it. I want to do more of this.
I feel like that would be a normal reaction just on a brain level, but I'm not psychic either, so I don't know. I feel like just from a brain level, from a body level, that that would be a natural potential of that ecstatic, that high, feeling, those endorphins rushing and, all that. So tell people, if somebody is listening or watching right now that they're interested in maybe getting a reading, is Instagram still the best place to reach you?
So I would say the website. So my website, which is www.barbramay.com. It's spelled Barbra, different spell of Barbara. And so there you can book one-to-one session with me, or Instagram. Yeah, my DMs are open. So I have the open policy. I'm not ignoring anybody, even if it goes to the general, whatever that is, side of it. And yeah.
That's awesome. And I've enjoyed talking to you today. I feel like I could just ask you, I feel like I'm wearing you out there because I don't know what time it is there, but it has to be late. What time is it there right now?
It's 7:46.
Oh, it's not as late as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm really bad with time zones. I am bad with time zones. I am bad with directions. I am terrible with maps. There's a long
you're
list.
good at different things.
Yes,
those are not all. Don't be selfish.
No, that's true. I did not get that, so it's fine. I've come to that perspective of allowing myself to be okay with that. But so yeah, because I was thinking gosh, I wonder if it's 2 a.m. or I'm terrible with time zones. I have no idea. So,
I don't love you that much.
No, and that's why I was sitting here thinking. I mean, I seen your lamp on in the background, and I was like, oh, is it dark there? And then I was thinking, oh, I wonder what time it is there. And this shows how my brain works. So I have self-diagnosed ADHD, and so my brain's all the places. So, but anyway, there is a ticker if you're watching at the bottom of the live right now of Barbara's website, which is barbramay.com, and it's Barbra, Barbara. And I think in some of our social media I spelled it not like that, so I apologize. So I did not even read it to that level until you just said. I was like, oh, I bet you that I spelled it the other way of Barbara, so I'll go fix that later. But you can go to our website and connect with her and get a reading, connect with her on her podcasts, and like and subscribe to our podcast. All podcasters like that. And again, thank you so much for being on here today. And is there anything else you kind of want to say to everybody before we end?
No, just thank you for having me, and thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for everybody that watches our live broadcast, we will be back again next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time with another great show. So see you guys later. Bye.